The Hawaiian Islands, with their lush landscapes and vibrant culture, hold a history as rich and powerful as the volcanic forces that shaped them. Among the many figures who have left their mark on these islands, none stands taller than Kamehameha the Great. Born in a time of division and destined to bring unity, Kamehameha rose from a turbulent youth to become one of the most formidable leaders in Polynesian history. His journey from a hidden child of prophecy to the founder of the Hawaiian kingdom is not only a tale of war and conquest, but also one of vision, diplomacy, spiritual conviction, and enduring legacy. This work explores the life and times of Kamehameha, from the fractured landscape of pre-unified Hawaii to the forging of a peaceful and prosperous kingdom. Through 5 comprehensive sections, readers will delve into the complex society Kamehameha inherited, the challenges he overcame, the military and political strategies he mastered, and the lasting impact of his rule. As we follow his extraordinary journey, we will uncover how one man's ambition reshaped a nation and why his legacy remains central to Hawaiian identity today. Before the rise of Kamehameha the Great, the Hawaiian Islands were a fragmented collection of chiefdoms, each governed by its own ali'i chief. These islands, comprising Hawaii, Maui, Oahu, Kauai, Molokai, Lanai, Kaho'olawe, and Ni'ihau, were home to a vibrant and deeply spiritual Polynesian culture. While the islands shared a common ancestry and language, their political and social landscapes were as diverse and shifting as the volcanic terrains they inhabited. The governance structure in ancient Hawaii was hierarchical and strictly maintained by the kapu system, a code of conduct and religious law enforced by kahuna priests and ali'i. Society was divided primarily into 4 classes: the ali'i nobility, the kahuna priestly class, the maka āinana commoners, and the kauā outcasts or slaves. The ali'i ruled over land and people, receiving tribute and loyalty in exchange for protection and spiritual guidance. The kahuna served as advisors, spiritual leaders and healers, maintaining the favor of the gods through rituals and temple offerings. Each island or district was ruled independently, and tensions between competing chiefs frequently erupted into warfare. Power was concentrated in a few hands, and political alliances were often solidified through marriage, religion, and conquest. The ali'i wielded significant spiritual authority believed to be descended from the gods themselves. The land was not owned by individuals, but held in stewardship by the ali'i on behalf of the gods. For example, Oahu, under the leadership of Kahahana, saw conflict with Maui's ruler, Kahekili the Sioux, leading to Oahu's conquest. On Kauai, King Kaumuali ruled independently and maintained control through strategic diplomacy and local alliances. The island of Maui was particularly influential under Kahekili II, whose military strength extended his power to Oahu and challenged the political dynamics across the archipelago. In 1778, the course of Hawaiian history was forever altered by the arrival of Captain James Cook, a British explorer who made landfall on the islands. His arrival marked the beginning of a new era, introducing firearms, foreign diseases, and European ideas. Cook's initial encounter with the Hawaiians was peaceful and ceremonial, as many believed him to be a manifestation of the god Lono. However, misunderstandings and cultural clashes led to his death in 1779, signaling the volatility of the new relationships that would unfold. Despite Cook's death, the introduction of Western tools, weapons, and ships would irreversibly shift the balance of power among the islands. Ali'i, who gained access to firearms and foreign advisors, would quickly gain an advantage over their rivals. The arms race that followed was as much about European technology as it was about Hawaiian ambition. At the time of Cook's arrival, Hawaii Island was ruled by Kalaniʻopuʻu, a high-ranking ali'i. Upon his death in 1782, the island was divided between his son Kiwala'o and his nephew Kamehameha. This decision sowed the seeds of future conflict. Kiwala'o inherited the ruling position, while Kamehameha was given religious guardianship and some territorial control. Many ali'i were dissatisfied with this arrangement, particularly given Kamehameha's growing reputation as a fearless and cunning warrior. Kamehameha's early life is shrouded in legend and prophecy. He was born around 1758 during a time of political upheaval and natural disasters. Some believed that he was the child foretold by the kahuna to be the one who would unite the islands. According to oral tradition, at his birth, a strange celestial event occurred, possibly the appearance of Halley's Comet, interpreted as an omen of greatness. To protect him from rival chiefs who feared his potential, the infant Kamehameha was hidden in the remote valleys of Kohala. He was raised in secrecy and trained rigorously in the warrior arts of lua martial arts, spear fighting, and ocean navigation. As he grew, his physical strength became legendary. The defining moment of his youth came when he lifted the Naha Stone, a massive boulder said to weigh over 2.5 tons. According to prophecy, only the true unifier of the islands would be able to lift it. When Kamehameha succeeded, it was seen as divine confirmation of his destiny. His military training was matched by his spiritual discipline. He was deeply devoted to the war god Kuka, and this relationship would shape his rule. Kamehameha believed that conquest was sanctified when done under the guidance of the gods. His strategic mind, divine support, and physical prowess began attracting warriors and nobles to his cause. The stage was set for a seismic shift in the political order of Hawaii. Kamehameha's rise to power began in the turbulent years following the death of Kalaniʻōpuʻu in 1782. Upon the passing of this powerful ali'i, control of Hawaii Island was split between his son Kiwalao, who inherited the kingship, and his nephew Kamehameha, who received sacred responsibilities and control over the war god, Kuka Ilimoku. This uneven distribution of power led to deep discontent among the island's other chiefs, particularly those who believed Kamehameha to be the true successor due to his military prowess and spiritual favor. The Battle of Mokuʻōhai soon followed one of the defining early moments in Kamehameha's campaign. A coalition of chiefs, including Kamehameha, clashed with Kiwalao's supporters. In the chaos, Kiwalao was killed and Kamehameha emerged victorious. This victory did not bring him control over the entire island, but it did mark him as a formidable force. He claimed much of the western portion of Hawaii Island, but the east remained under the influence of rival ali'i Kaua Kuahu'ula in Kau and Keawemauhili in Hilo. Kamehameha's early rule was marked by continual conflict with these two leaders. Keawemauhili was initially an ally but later sided with Kaua. The island was embroiled in intermittent warfare. Kamehameha, recognizing the need for superior resources and tactics, sought alliances with Western traders and ship captains, most notably Isaac Davis and John Young. These men provided him with access to firearms cannons and training that would revolutionize his military. With their help, Kamehameha began transforming his army into a disciplined, well-equipped force. He also began constructing Western-style ships, allowing him to command naval operations and secure strategic coastal locations. In this era of transformation, his court at Kona became not only a military headquarters but also a center for innovation and diplomacy. Kamehameha's leadership style combined fearsome military strength with remarkable diplomacy. He treated his conquered enemies with a level of respect that often encouraged defection rather than resistance. Many chiefs, seeing the inevitability of his success, began to support him voluntarily. His careful attention to traditional protocol offerings to the gods and adherence to the kapu system reassured the population that he was a legitimate and sacred leader. One of the most critical turning points came with the construction of Pu'ukohola Heiau. The massive temple was built in Kauā using a human chain that passed stones from miles away. It was constructed in honor of Kuka Ilimoku and represented a final spiritual preparation for the unification of Hawaii Island. Kamehameha invited Kaua Kuahu'ula under the pretense of peace. Upon arrival, Kaua and his men were ambushed and sacrificed at the heiau, fulfilling the prophecy and bringing the island under Kamehameha's control. The symbolic power of this moment cannot be overstated. It was both a military and religious triumph. The sacrifice of Kaua was interpreted by many as a divine endorsement of Kamehameha's rule. The completion of the heiau solidified his control not only politically but spiritually. Kamehameha's administration of Hawaii Island was efficient and innovative. He began establishing a system of taxation, particularly in the redistribution of fish and taro, and he maintained law and order through the strict observance of kapu. He rewarded loyal ali'i with land and placed them in charge of districts to ensure governance remained local but loyal to him. His military continued to grow. He trained a standing army and developed naval forces. His understanding of terrain and climate allowed him to outmaneuver rivals in successive skirmishes. He used psychological warfare, strategic marriages, and religious ceremonies to unify people under his rule. As Kamehameha consolidated control of Hawaii Island, he set his sights on the rest of the archipelago. Intelligence gathered by his Western allies gave him insight into the political landscapes of Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. He began planning extensive campaigns that would utilize his growing fleet and seasoned army. His reputation now preceded him. His name was spoken with both awe and fear across the islands. Throughout this period, Ka'ahumanu played an increasingly important role. As one of his wives and closest confidants, she influenced court decisions and helped maintain alliances among powerful families. Her keen intelligence and loyalty made her an invaluable political partner. By the late 1790s, Kamehameha had transformed from a warrior chief into a ruler of vision. His court included foreign advisors, expert warriors, spiritual leaders, and local ali'i. His dream of uniting the islands was no longer just a prophecy, it was a plan already in motion. Central to Kamehameha's narrative and political legitimacy was prophecy. The Hawaiian worldview was deeply spiritual, with every event from natural disasters to battles interpreted through the lens of divine will. The kahuna, or priests, were not only religious figures but also political influencers, able to sway public perception through their interpretations of signs and omens. Among these was the prophecy of a chief who would unite the islands, a prophecy widely believed to have found its fulfillment in Kamehameha. The lifting of the Naha Stone as a youth had already marked Kamehameha as one favored by the gods, but his path to fulfillment of the prophecy required divine validation at every step. This was particularly important in a society where mana spiritual power was an essential attribute of leadership. His strict adherence to religious protocols, construction of heiau temples, and personal devotion to Kukailimoku all reinforced the perception that he was the rightful ruler destined to bring unity. As he consolidated power on Hawaii Island, Kamehameha undertook major efforts to restructure his forces into a unified and disciplined military. The traditional Hawaiian warrior society was based on fierce individual skill and clan loyalty, but Kamehameha introduced more structured hierarchies. He instituted regular training drills and tactical units that functioned with a cohesion unprecedented among his rivals. He also revolutionized Hawaiian naval warfare. Kamehameha's fleet included both traditional double-hulled canoes and Western-style schooners, outfitted with cannons and small arms. His embrace of Western military technology gave him a strategic edge that allowed for coordinated amphibious attacks. These developments signaled a shift from fragmented island skirmishes to organized large-scale warfare. One of the most telling events during this campaign was the eruption of Kilauea in 1790, just as Kamehameha's forces were engaging Kauā in ongoing territorial disputes. Kaua's warriors, caught in a lethal combination of toxic gases and lava, suffered heavy losses. Many believed the eruption was a sign from Pele, the goddess of volcanoes, affirming Kamehameha's divine mission. Kamehameha did not let this opportunity go to waste. The spiritual interpretation of the eruption as divine wrath against Kaua further bolstered his own claims. In a masterstroke of psychological warfare and religious manipulation, Kamehameha began the construction of Pu'ukohola Heiau. This massive temple, built with precision and labor from across his territories, was designed to fulfill a prophecy that would legitimize his rule once consecrated with a chief's sacrifice. The plan was executed with meticulous coordination. Kaua was invited to a peace summit. Although suspicions were high, Kaua decided to attend, possibly to avoid further bloodshed or due to pressure from his advisors. As Kaua arrived on shore, he and his party were ambushed and killed. Accounts vary as to whether he was struck by a spear or assassinated during a ritual. His body was carried up to the heiau and offered in sacrifice to Ku. This act, while brutal, was in accordance with ancient Hawaiian custom and confirmed Kamehameha's power both spiritually and militarily. For many, the death of Kaua at Pu'ukohola marked the moment when the gods themselves had anointed Kamehameha as the sole ruler of Hawaii Island. Following this act, resistance on Hawaii Island ceased. Chiefs who had been on the fence either submitted or were neutralized. Kamehameha implemented a system of governance that allowed for continuity of local rule under his supremacy, ensuring stability and minimizing rebellion. In the years immediately after unifying Hawaii Island, Kamehameha invested in building up infrastructure, training, and alliances. He commissioned the construction of fish ponds, armories, and additional heiau to maintain both the physical and spiritual readiness of his growing kingdom. His alliance with influential kahuna continued solidifying his religious authority. At the same time, he sent emissaries to Maui and Oahu to assess their strengths and weaknesses. These emissaries not only gathered intelligence but also spread tales of Kamehameha's victories and divine favor. Fear, respect, and admiration followed his name. He cultivated this reputation with great care, ensuring that even his enemies would hesitate before standing against him. The religious foundations of Kamehameha's rule provided more than just legitimacy, they were tools of unification. In a land where belief and governance were intertwined, Kamehameha's portrayal as the prophesied unifier appealed to commoners, warriors, and ali'i alike. His rule promised not only order but also spiritual harmony. By the end of this phase, Hawaii Island was firmly under Kamehameha's control. He had emerged as a master of war, religion, and politics. He had harnessed the sacred, mastered the practical, and set the stage for the most ambitious campaign yet, the conquest of the remaining islands. With Hawaii Island under his firm control, Kamehameha's ambitions expanded to encompass all of the Hawaiian Islands. His next targets were Maui and Oahu, two powerful and strategically significant islands ruled by formidable chiefs. The process of unification was not only a series of military campaigns but also a sophisticated exercise in diplomacy, intelligence gathering, and psychological warfare. Maui, ruled at the time by Kahekili the Ku, was a dominant power. Kahekili had extended his rule over Oahu and established himself as one of the most powerful alii of his generation. A cunning and experienced warrior, Kahekili presented a major challenge to Kamehameha's plans. However, with Kahekili aging and political instability rising within his domains, Kamehameha saw a window of opportunity. The first major offensive occurred in 1790 at the Battle of Kepaniwai, fought in the Lau Valley of Maui. Kamehameha's forces, armed with cannons and muskets, attacked Maui's defenders with devastating effect. According to Hawaiian oral tradition, the Nau stream ran red with the blood of the fallen, and bodies dammed the river. The scale of death was so significant that the battle earned its grim name, Kepaniwai, the damming of the waters. Kamehameha's superior firepower, supplied and maintained by Isaac Davis and John Young, proved decisive. European-style cannon fire scattered enemy formations and demoralized opposing warriors. This victory granted Kamehameha temporary control of Maui, though Kahekili himself escaped to Oahu. In the months that followed, Kamehameha consolidated his gains and began preparations for the next stage of conquest. Kamehameha continued to build his navy, amassing fleets of war canoes and schooners capable of transporting hundreds of warriors. He established a network of coastal bases to stage future assaults and kept communication flowing between Hawaii and his newly acquired territory on Maui. His logistical sophistication, bolstered by foreign advisors and traditional Hawaiian knowledge, ensured his forces remained supplied and ready. The campaign against Oahu reached its climax in 1795 with the Battle of Uanu. By this time, Kahekili had passed away and his son Kalaniʻōpuʻu ruled Oahu. Though Kalaniʻōpuʻu had support from some Maui chiefs, his hold on power was tenuous. Kamehameha launched a full-scale invasion, landing troops on Oahu's southern shores and forcing the defenders to retreat inland. The battle stretched across rugged terrain, culminating in a desperate last stand at the Uanu Pali. Kamehameha's troops outflanked the defenders and drove them toward the cliffs. Hundreds of Kalaniʻōpuʻu's warriors were forced over the edge, falling to their deaths. The psychological impact of this defeat was immense. Oahu was now under Kamehameha's control, and with it came immense resources and manpower. Despite his battlefield dominance, Kamehameha was careful to avoid unnecessary destruction. He spared many of the captured alii, offering them places in his expanding government. This policy of leniency, unusual among warring alii, helped him solidify power and integrate his new territories with minimal resistance. With Hawaii, Maui, and Oahu under his rule, only Kauā and Niihau remained. The high chief of Kauā, Kaumuali, was known for his wisdom and caution. He observed the rise of Kamehameha and prepared his island for defense, reinforcing fortifications and cultivating foreign alliances. In 1796, Kamehameha attempted to launch an invasion of Kauā, but his fleet was scattered by a powerful storm. The mission was abandoned and Kamehameha turned his attention inward, focusing on stabilizing his realm. Over the next decade, he strengthened internal governance, built infrastructure, and maintained control over his multi-island kingdom. His rule was characterized by balance. He rewarded loyalty, maintained the kapu system, and allowed regional chiefs to govern locally while answering to his authority. In 1810, Kaumuali voluntarily submitted to Kamehameha's rule in a peaceful agreement that unified the Hawaiian Islands under a single monarch for the first time in history. As a gesture of goodwill, Kamehameha allowed Kaumuali to retain a degree of autonomy as a governor. The decision avoided bloodshed and brought stability to the entire archipelago. Kamehameha's war campaigns were a triumph of strategy, diplomacy, and force. He harnessed traditional Hawaiian warfare techniques, embraced foreign technology, and applied psychological insight to defeat his enemies. He inspired loyalty not only through fear, but through justice, generosity, and a deep understanding of Hawaiian values. His unification of the islands was not merely a political accomplishment, it was the culmination of prophecy, the fulfillment of spiritual destiny, and the dawn of a new era in Hawaiian history. With the islands finally unified under one monarch, Kamehameha shifted his focus from conquest to governance. This new phase of his rule demanded a different kind of leadership, one that combined ancient tradition with adaptive policies suited to a rapidly changing world. Peace was not simply the absence of war. For Kamehameha, it was the establishment of structured justice and sustainability for his people. One of his earliest and most enduring accomplishments was the implementation of the Kamehameha Mamalahoe, the law of the Splintered Paddle. The law originated from an incident in Kamehameha's youth when he was pursuing two fishermen who had trespassed into restricted lands. During the chase, one of the fishermen struck Kamehameha on the head with a paddle, fracturing it. Years later, remembering this event, Kamehameha issued a decree protecting the defenseless. The law stated that old men, women, and children should be able to lie by the roadside in safety. This humanitarian principle demonstrated Kamehameha's moral vision and remains a cornerstone of Hawaiian legal philosophy, even codified into the Constitution of the state of Hawaii. In establishing centralized governance, Kamehameha maintained a delicate balance between traditional customs and administrative efficiency. He ruled with absolute authority, yet recognized the importance of local governance. Ali'i, who had submitted to him, retained their lands and titles, but were now subject to his oversight. This dual structure allowed him to integrate his kingdom without alienating regional leaders. Through a council of trusted advisors and chiefs, he facilitated governance across islands, ensuring local interests were respected while maintaining his supreme authority. Taxation was formalized under a system known as the auhau. Chiefs were responsible for collecting tributes from the maka āinana commoners in the form of goods, fish, taro, kapa, cloth, feathers, and other resources. These tributes supported the ali'i class and funded public works such as the construction of fish ponds, roads, and irrigation systems. Kamehameha monitored this system carefully to prevent abuse and ensure that resources flowed efficiently across the islands. Kamehameha also continued to rely on and elevate the role of kahuna in his administration. Religious observances remained essential, and kapu taboo laws continued to regulate behavior in spiritual, political, and domestic life. The kahuna maintained temples, interpreted omens, and served as healers and advisors. Their presence in court reinforced Kamehameha's image as a ruler blessed and guided by the gods. A pivotal figure in Kamehameha's reign was Kaumuali, his favorite and most politically astute wife. She had great influence within the court and served as a de facto co-ruler in many respects. Her counsel was instrumental in the maintenance of political alliances and the integration of women into the power structure of the new kingdom. After Kamehameha's death, she would become Kuhina Nui co-regent and lead reforms that shaped the future of Hawaiian governance. Kamehameha's openness to foreign trade furthered the prosperity of his kingdom. He established trade relations with British and American merchants, offering sandalwood provisions and port access in exchange for weapons, tools, and luxuries. Recognizing the value of these relationships, he protected foreigners under his jurisdiction and enforced fair trade. His decision to fly the British flag, for instance, was strategic. It symbolized a diplomatic alliance without surrendering sovereignty. However, this influx of foreign influence brought challenges as well. The spread of European diseases had already decimated portions of the native population, a trend that would continue and worsen after Kamehameha's reign. He attempted to limit harmful influences by restricting the movement of foreign vessels and controlling contact with his people. While he welcomed innovation, he was cautious not to let Western ideologies erode traditional Hawaiian culture. Throughout his rule, Kamehameha continued to promote public works. He ordered the construction of fish ponds, expanded agricultural lands, and encouraged the production of wā double-hulled canoes. These investments ensured food security and trade mobility across the islands. The stability of his rule allowed for a cultural flourishing in chant, Malay dance hula, and oral history mo'olelo. As he aged, Kamehameha prepared for succession. His son Liholiho was groomed to inherit the kingdom, though Kamehameha himself never publicly declared his successor. Instead, he entrusted key leaders, including Ka'ahumanu and High Priest Hiwahiwa, with maintaining the stability of the realm during the transition of power. When Kamehameha died in 1819, his body was buried in a secret location in accordance with tradition to preserve his mana. The transition after his death marked a period of profound change. Liholiho, under the guidance of Ka'ahumanu, would soon abolish the kapu system and pave the way for Christian missionaries in Western legal structures. While these changes diverged from Kamehameha's traditionalist rule, they were made possible by the firm foundation he had laid. Kamehameha's legacy is unparalleled in Hawaiian history. He united a people, preserved a culture, and established a kingdom that would endure for nearly a century. Statues erected in his honor across the Hawaiian Islands as well as in Washington, D.C. bear witness to his enduring influence. June 11th, Kamehameha Day, is a public holiday in Hawaii, a testament to his role as father of the nation. More than a conqueror, Kamehameha was a visionary. He understood the power of diplomacy, the need for cultural preservation, and the importance of justice. His reign represents the peak of indigenous Hawaiian governance and the last era before the kingdom entered the global stage. Under Kamehameha, the Great Hawaii was no longer a collection of warring islands. It was a kingdom, one people under one leader, bound by law, united in peace, and guided by the spirit of aloha. The story of Kamehameha the Great is more than an account of battles won and islands unified. It is the story of a nation forged in fire, faith, and foresight. Through wisdom, strength, and diplomacy, Kamehameha not only altered the course of Hawaiian history, but laid the groundwork for a sovereign kingdom that would stand as a beacon of Polynesian resilience and governance for nearly a century. His laws protected the weak, his policies preserved peace. His leadership unified a diverse people under a shared identity. Kamehameha's life reminds us that true greatness lies not only in victory, but in the vision to build, protect, and preserve. Today, as Hawaii navigates modern challenges, cultural preservation, sovereignty movements, and environmental stewardship, we are called to remember the foundations laid by Kamehameha. His legacy offers lessons in leadership, courage, and unity that remain relevant. Let us honor his memory by learning from his example, embracing the values of aloha, and continuing the work of cultural revitalization and education. Whether through supporting Hawaiian language programs, visiting cultural sites, or teaching the next generation about the island's history, we all have a role in upholding the legacy of the great unifier. Kamehameha united the islands. Now it is up to us to keep that unity alive.